Hey guys, and welcome to another edition of the Best of Three podcast. On today's episode, Torrey and I are joined by Bobby Reynolds as we discuss some of the changes in the men's game that are playing out in the opening rounds of the Australian Open. Bobby is the head coach of the Auburn University men's team. He also played on the ATP Tour and reached a career high of 61. Without further delay, enjoy the show.
I mean, you're seeing a level of guy that's smacking the absolute belt off the ball. And these kids are young. I'm like, whoo. I was telling Alvin before it started, I'm like, the men's tour, we better have that top level we think. But I said, dude, this is deep. I mean, you've got some players that are new and that they're not taking stuff off nobody. I mean, just you being a seed might be a target on your back right now.
And it's not just like, I think Tsitsipas's interview, his post-match interview, was the one that kind of like got everyone's attention. But if you start to kind of, read through it, like it's the same thing. Zverev is saying the same thing. Yeah. And Casper Ruud, who got bounced, second round. Yeah, he said the exact same thing. It's like, the game has changed. And I was talking about this before we got rolling. Like, these guys aren't old, right? These guys are all between the ages of 25 and 29. Saying that, in the last 5 years that the game that they have been at the top of has changed. And you're starting to see Alcaraz won his first slam in 21, right? It's 25 now. So there are plenty of players who are 18, 19 years old right now who literally were in juniors watching this guy on TV and saying, oh, that's how I'm going to play. And, there's been some statistical analysis about what the actual difference is. I think there's this company called Tennis Viz, and they're talking about steal score. Bobby, I'm not sure if you're familiar with steal score, but it's like how often does a player win a point when they're on defense? So, traditionally we've always been taught, right, go from defense to neutral to offense. And the two guys who are heads and tails above everyone else on winning points from defensive positions, Sinner, Alcaraz, and it's not even close. So now you see all these young guys, 19 years old, 20 years old, they're all hitting the piss out of the ball. They're doing it from outside the doubles alleys. They're doing it on forehand and backhand wings. They're strong, right? And I think the underpinning, I'm guessing, is probably they all have fantastic footwork, and strength and conditioning program is it's starting earlier and earlier. It's kind of crazy how it happened that fast. We're talking the game was different 3 years ago than it is today. And, that's kind of a long-winded cold intro to say, Bobby, what's up, man? How are you?
Hey, man, you know how time is, right? Time goes like this. And,
ridiculous.
I don't disagree, right? And I think as I try to think back on it, what could it be? I mean, as I kind of explained a little bit, I think for me, it might be just the technology. Right now, you're talking about kids who have grown up with Luxilon string, with all this, technology of actually the ball just actually pulling it and throwing it since the age of now 3 years old or 4 years old, as opposed to somebody who maybe started at 9 years old, and then you talk to people who started at 13 years old, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, I think we all know as tennis players and coaches and all the above, you string those rackets. I mean, and you rip the harder you swing, the lower you have that tension, the more it grabs in, and the more it throws in, the more the ball goes in. You right? You finding that balance of okay, where can I control it?
And to that point, Bob, if I can add, you can aim lower and hit it bigger, and as long as you can control it, to your point, the strings reward you. But I'm going to say at some point, you're also now, I tell Alvin, we were just talking about this in the previous episode, ball speed and foot speed. We used to always talk about that with you. At some point, your ball speed is going to exceed your foot speed. Mm-hmm. I'm seeing some guys that their foot speed is not too bad and ripping the piss out of the ball. So you're in a literal, you are going from the skillet to the frying pan, buddy. I mean, it is the ball. Casper had a 5-setter the other day, Alvin, and he had his hands full on first round. Ruud did, and to beat the next round, I'm telling you guys, this Thai kid, Sandarit or whatever, was amazing off the ground. I knew Fonseca was going to be good. I've been hearing about him, but guys, I'm not talking about Impeshi Pericard, who has 142-mile-an-hour second serve. He's impressive on one side of the ball. These kids can return. These kids are ripping. Brandon and Ben had a knockdown drag out that only had one break. 6, 6, and 5. I mean, and these guys, I think, are hitting a little bigger than that consistently. That's what's scaring me. I think, guys, I'm gonna go out on a weird limb here. I think it's going to change the landscape of the tennis because they're going to start knocking out a lot of seeds early, and they're going to think about kind of restructuring the whole seeds and the whole format. You mark my words, this wave, I think, is going to do some things to kind of disrupt tennis and slow down, maybe add more grit to the court. Something's got to happen because I'm telling you, it's just at this point in time, these guys are just, we've already lost how many seats? So about 6, 7 seats, which is standard for Australia. But you're not used to seeing them get beat down. I mean, you're seeing a guy choke, you're seeing a guy got hurt, retired. Dimitrov obviously retired. But you're starting to see guys get beat down. And that is scary to watch. You're talking up and comer. Fonseca was a qualifier. A qualifier. Knocking out a 10 in the world straight. And Rublev didn't play for him. I mean, he just got beat. Anyway, I digress, but I'm telling you, I'm excited. I'm worried. I don't know what I am. I mean, it's just kind of, it's a brave new world out there right now, on the ATP tour.
And Bobby, I'll ask you, we talked about this a little bit before, but like during your playing days, like, was there ever a period where you felt like while you're in it, going from, 2005, 2006, 2007, where you felt a direct, like, oh, things were different last year than they are this year. So if I want to be here next year, I need to do this.
Yeah, I definitely did. And I don't know if I can pinpoint, hey, this is specific year. But I definitely think going from college, working your way, through the challengers up to the tour level and being at that for a while, I would say probably right around the 2010 area in my career, I realized, like, you have to have some type of weapon, right, in order to really be one of those consistent top 50 players, where you're not dropping down. And for me, and this is all honesty, I felt like I was like a 125 to about 75, 60 in the world player. That was kind of my threshold, right? If I really wanted to be, that next echelon players, right below, probably I would say the top 20 guys, my next group would be, 60, 65 to like 20, 25. If you wanted to be in that one consistently, you had to have something, right? And I think in my era, right, I prided myself obviously on the conditioning side, on just absolutely what you're talking about, defense to offense to an extent, just being able to withstand points over and over and over again. Pretty good serve, from my size as a weapon. I tried to play more one-dimensional and kind of win the ad court side and kind of play more percentage tennis to not leave myself vulnerable in certain areas. But really, to get to that next level, you had to have something just special, right?
Right. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, and at that point, like, it's not like you can go out and work harder on your forehand and make it special, like, you kind of had what you had. So you did see some of these guys, nowadays that we would speak about, like Kyrgios early on in his career, and you saw him come out at 17, 18 years old, and you were like, whoa, that's different, right?
Yeah.
And he's coming through the challenger level at 17, 18. Now I'm 25, 26, 27. And you're just like, when he gets it all together, that's going to be something different, So you could definitely pinpoint different people, even though they might have been a little bit younger, maybe a little bit more raw in their time and being on tour. But just the pace that came off the ball, the way it sounded, the way they were able to move, they were able to do everything that you did, but just a little bit better.
Yeah.
Right. Right. And if you were, if you were to put yourself in the, let's say, the Rublevs and the Rudes of the world, right? These guys who have made a really good living, in that 6 to 10 in the world space, playing tennis in an excelled version of a traditional style of tennis, right? The tennis of the 2010s, if you will. But now you've got these guys who are willing to go open stance from the alleys on the backhand side, and like I'm not gonna hit the ball high and heavy cross court. I'm just gonna rip it into that corner down there. Like if they're playing this video game style of tennis, like what's the defense for that? Like how are the next generation of players gonna, or the current generation of players gonna deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, and again, my question, or popping it back to you guys, is it just, more of a mindset, right? Obviously, I think as you get older, you kind of get obviously set in your ways and how you play and how you've been successful. Whereas maybe some of these kids are coming out, and what as a coach, you would be like, do not go for that shot because that is low percentage. But to them, one, it's not low percentage, and two, they're able to make it. So they're looking at you saying, well, it's not low percentage. I'm able to make it 8 out of 10 times. Whereas you've always been coached and, hey, do this, and kind of, you get pulled out for me, out to your right on your forehand, go a little bit higher, give yourself time so that you recover. Nowadays, kids don't do that anymore. They get over there and they smoke the ball forehand cross court, like as the story was saying, because they're able to hit it faster almost than some of the guys are able to run it these days, whereas again, we played a little bit more defensive and like strategical, so that you could keep the point going. Where now, I mean, just again, whether it's just, kids are faster and stronger and bigger, or is it the technology of different things that are allowing them to change the way that kind of we've always viewed tennis, that, playing chess. We don't have to play chess anymore.
It's checkers now, bro. And it's turbo checkers.
Bang your fist on the checkers board while you're
got that right. It's like, and like exactly like dominoes. That's a great comment you made there, Alvin, about video game tennis. That's what it felt. That's what it looked like when I was watching. At one point, Danielle was laughing, like he was literally like, "This is a joke." Like nobody's this good. Like he was literally had that look to his face, like he was incredulous. Like, you got kidding. Like,
and I've seen that look on all these guys. Like Daniil had that look, and Casper had that look, and Rublev had that look. They're all just like, too good.
It's like
I don't know.
Like, whoa, like where did this guy come from? And
yeah,
I was almost proud of Daniil for laughing it off a little bit. Like, this isn't me. This kid's just playing out of his mind right now. And he weathered the storm. End up. The kid ran out of gas. It was cramping. He was doing it. But bottom line, the kid was absolutely taken to the tool shed. But I was proud of Daniil to rely on his veteranship and kind of, understand. But it won't be long. It won't be long.
We'll put a pin in it there. Bobby, thanks for joining us. TH, always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure.
We'll be back at this again next time.